Well, good morning, all of you. Today's session we are going to discuss about design process. So while we discussing about this design process, what's coming to our minds? What actually the design? How it how it originates? It is not like a miracle. A new design will appear, and it is having some process. So humans, if they gone through that particular process, then they can get the perfect design. So the first thing is how this design originates, right? So there are some specific process out there for the design that we are going to discuss in this particular session. How the design originates? It originates from the minds of human being. The humans, they're able to think, they can able to formulate, they can able to see the flow, and finally they can design, right? So in this manner the design originates. So if an engineer they are start doing this design, they will put forward the laws and principles from the science and engineering, sometimes from the technology. Sometimes they can add on this arts. So to combine all those effects, they can make a perfect design. So always keep in mind, the design means it will not simply come from some ends or some poles, or it is not like a miracle. It will originate from our minds. In general, we can say it is originates from those who are able to think. It will originate those who are able to execute. It will originate those who are having a good vision on particular products, right? So that is the important thing behind this design, right? To support the arguments of design process, I'll try to upload a presentation. I hope it will be very helpful to learn about the design process. What exactly the process there in the design that we are going to discuss in this particular session, right? And it is having some 5 or 6 process, but we are going to discuss few process in this particular session and the remaining process in the next session, right? I'll tell you one by one what are the process there. By the meantime, while it takes uploads. So first of all, any design process, you need to define, you need to identify the problem. So if you are able to identify some problem in the society, if you are able to identify some problems in the network, if you are able to identify some problems in the way of execution, then you can modify it. So that will be like a bigger design process, right? It starts from the identification of the problem, right? Where you are able to identify where some problems exist, right? To recover the problems. So that is the important thing in the design process, right? And let us see. Yeah. As I told, the design originates not like a miracle. It will originate from the minds of human. I hope you can able to see now, and it will develop from the engineering concepts, right? It is having some principles, it is having some laws, right? It is having some arts, it is having some technology. So I think you may know about it is a combination of science, engineering, arts, and technology. So all these together, it will form a good design. That's why the design originates. Right? Therefore, the quote of the scientist, there are scientific methods that everyone can adopt to develop optimized design. So how to do it? There are many ways to do it. They are having some trial and error methods. They are having some algorithm to put forward. They are having many other methodologies to identify the problems and to get the results. So all those things, many algorithms were already put forward. How we were able to take? So that is the important thing here. So let us see how the design originates. So the design process, we know that it originates from the mind of human being, and the design process, how it will be. It is having some six design process I taken here. That is, one is to define the problem. Second one is to generate the concepts. Third one is to develop the solution for that and construct a prototype. So any type of the design, if you are going to do it, first thing is to do a prototype, the sample one. If you are going to do a bigger type of the module, right, before that you have to do it a smaller type of the module, and you need to test, and you can expand. Right? So that is the main thing in the design process. You can evaluate the solution, you can present the solution to the customers, you can present the solution to the experts, right? Who will check, who will certify it, right? Whether it is having any environmental impact. So all these things need to be checked, right? Therefore, whatever the design, if you are doing, it need a proper evaluation. It need a it needs to be present before the experts for their comments, for their opinion, right? So these are the important things in the design process. We will discuss one by one, right? The first we can start with the first we can start with define the problem. How we can define the problem? The flowchart also you can see that in the how it will be, right? While defining the problem, you can see that. So first, the statement you will give yes to design the problem, and the next thing is whether the problem is valid or not. That is the bigger check we need to do. You can identify a bigger problem, but you are able to solve it. Right? That need to be justified. Right? Sometimes you are telling that as it is. I'll give one example. There are many vehicles are going in the roads, especially the traffic. Say at the peak time, 9 o'clock, there is some thousands of vehicles together. So it is not easy to come to the institution at the right time. Or if you want to go to the office at the right time, it is not possible. So how to do it? If somebody is telling that if vehicle is having 5 gears and there will be a possibility of flying gear, then the vehicle will go right beyond that, like that, and all if somebody is giving an idea, and you have to justify whether it is possible, right? People can give many ideas, people can give many solutions, whether the problem you have taken and you need to solve that, whether it is justifiable, the solution you are making, or how you can segregate it, right? And you need to compare with the generalized concept, what the engineering is telling about, what the technology is telling about, if there is any possibility of flying gears, whether it is a bigger things are possible in the cartoons, whether it is possible in the real life. So all those things need to be a bigger challenging question, right? If somebody is giving some concepts, sir, we can do like this. We can establish this type of things, and many precious things they will give. But the reality also we need to check. The things are available, whether it is properly justified like that. Let us see one by one. so that you can understand. The first thing is to design, to define a problem. In the design process, the first thing is to define a problem. Let us see what exactly you need to design while designing the problem. So while defining the problem, first thing is you need to identify a problem. Right? As I told, while you are coming to the institution, there will be huge traffic. Yes, this is a problem you identified, and you need to validate the problem. Validate means that is how it can be segregated. Whether there is a proper bridge, if you are constructing, it will give the solution. Especially the country like India, if you are start constructing the bridge, normally it will take an year. Means I am telling an example. Year means so now it will be like 1,000 vehicles coming between 9 to 9:30. So another 1 year it will be same 1,000. If you are thinking like that, it won't give the solutions. Right? Means another 1 year or another 5 year after we were constructing the bridge, the strength will be 4 times or 5 times instead of 1,000 vehicles coming between 9 to 9:30. Then it will be like 4,000 or 5,000 vehicles. Then even though you are having a bridge and the another pathway is there, whether it will be helpful or you need to do some more modifications. So the vision is very important. It should be a long-term vision while you are doing this type of generalized design. Say example, if you are manufacturing the mobile phones, so some 10 years before, you can say that only these 2G, GPRS, these things are available. So the mobile manufacturers, they did like that. So people are start buying such type of mobile phones. And just imagine, you are making some crores of mobile phones like that, and immediately it was changed. Means this GPRS 2G was changed to 3G and 4G. And 3G also now obsolete, nobody is using. Then what about the mobile phones? We were able to market it, it is not at all possible. Therefore, you should have a long term vision, right? Whether it is 4G or 5G, it is coming. So depends on that, the manufacturing unit should act on that. Otherwise, it will be a bigger flop in the manufacturing sectors. They won't get a good gain, right? So therefore, whatever you are doing, so if you are thinking about these 4Gs, yes, how you can customize the design, right? So what are the problems there, especially while they're handling the mobile phones, right? The customers having, what are the problems? So you need to address it, right? Whether the problem is oriented with the money, whether you can reduce the money, or sometimes the problem with the performance, whether you can optimize the performance, sometimes the problem with the user friendly, whether you can make it more flexible and reliable. So all those things you need to think about, right? If you are able to think and you can validate the problem, right? First of all, you need to know about that is, if some problem is there, whether you are alone telling it is a problem or the problem statement was given by the customers. I think the previous session we discussed about the questionnaires. So you made a good questionnaire and you sent it to the customers. So just imagine how the customers, they are giving the feedback. So depends on that, you can act on that, right? And what are the needs and wants, as I told, like the customers, they know that, the end users, they might be knowing, right? And the design engineers, they know that how it will work for years, and whatever the solutions you are giving, and it will be much good. So that also we need to do it. And the next important thing is justify the problem, right? You are able to find all the problem, and justifying means you are going to give some solution for that particular problem, and if you are able to give the solution, whether it is worthy, and whether it will give very good insights. So that is the important thing, that is while justifying the problem, right? Otherwise you are spending nearly years of time, 1 or 2 years of time to solve the problem, but at the time it may create some other problems, or at the time the technology may advances. See, you are working with some 4G technology and making to solve all these problems. By the time it will go to 5G, what you will do? So the problems you made, the problems you identify, then it will become obsolete. There is no such problems because the technology overcomes, right? So all those things need to be checked while defining the problem. Right, I'm not telling about the mobile phones, only about mobile phones. Since you are always using the mobile phones, I used to take that example. You can take many other examples. You can take the design of air conditioners. You can take the design of refrigerators because you are using it in the daily household applications. Right, many places, right, they may have some problems. They may have some negative impacts. So the things needs to be addressed, right, to justify the problem. And the next thing is to create the design requirements. So that is also another important thing. It was oriented with this particular definition, that is to define the problem. So how to design, how to create it? So to create design requirements means what are all the materials we need, whether it is available, whether you are able to get it, because while giving some solution you need some inputs, right? Whether you are able to get all the inputs which is available, or that inputs also you need to create. If you want to create, you are able to create. So that is the important thing. I'll give an example. There is a bigger evolution while using this ant box. That is while my father is ironing the clothes and all, what he used to do means, while I am young, there is no automatic iron box is there, but iron box was there. He used to plug in the iron box. The iron box will get heated, and he will check whether the iron box will reach the maximum heat. Then immediately what he will do means he will take the plug out, or he will switch off the supply, and he will start doing the ironing process. Then again the heat will come down. Once again he will switch on. Just imagine, there is no automatic sensors were available at that time, and only by using manual they can able to use it. Do you know what are the problems they are associated with that? Means if they didn't identify it properly, then unbearable heat will be there. And if you are keeping it the wool, if you are keeping some wool clothes, and if you are keeping it the cotton, then your cloth will get spoiled. So many such problems are there. Then afterwards they identified the automatic system. Once it reaches the maximum heat, automatically it will switch off. Then again, there are some 5 or 6 positions of heat. You can stop at if the cloth is wool, if the cloth is silk, if the cloth is cotton, depends on that you can turn the knobs. So it was automatically programmed, that is inside, or the particular sensors are available, it will check right? If you are keeping the cotton, right, how much the heat will be? The system knows, the iron box knows nowadays. So that's why I'm telling, the problems are there, the problem needs to be addressed properly. And now the customers are telling, for using with the wired iron box, it is also much difficult. It only the iron box is there. It will be much easier. But they may give some constraints. What are the constraint means? The weight should not be much. The previous years, while they're using the iron box, the weight of the iron box is much higher when compared to the iron box whatever we are using now. And now, once again, if we are going to that wireless, means there should be a possibility of battery inside. And if the battery is able to manage the heat, and if you are able to do all those things, whether the weight is not much increased, so you need to do all those things. So now I am giving this problem to you, means as an electrical engineer you can address it. Just you can open it, what actually there. What about the previous technology of the iron box? It is on wired iron box. It is having good sensors. Automatically it will be working very fine. And now what you are doing means, okay, here also the plug point is available to charge. But what will happen, it should withstand the heat. Right? The stand, whatever you are making, it should be like a battery as well as the charge we are getting from the supply. So you need to design properly. You need to check whether it is possible or not. Right? If it is possible, how you can do it. And the constraint, they will say that it should not be much weight. So all those things need to be taken care while you are defining a problem. Right? And another important thing is, while defining the problem, I'll tell you the brief about the design. Let us see in the next slide. That means while you are designing a problem, at the first step, what you have to do means you should have a very good plan. That means while you are identifying the problem, that is how it can be solved, when it will be solved. It should say about the time duration. It should say about the constraints. So depends upon the applications, or depends upon the type of the design modification you taken or the new design you taken. That is how it will be. And before before going to give the solution, you should think in all aspects. So how it will be, how it will work out. Let us see. So you have to think in every angle. That is how it will be worked out. Whether you are able to do it, or what are the other types of solutions there, right? So that are the important things that will be in the problem definition, right? So it was clearly mentioned in the flow chart. You can see that what actually there in the flow chart. So the first thing it is telling about the define problems. So while defining the problem, right, you should say that the problem is valid, and if it is justifiable, right, and if it is okay, if it is justifiable means it will go to the next step, And if it is unable to justify, means once again you go to the design process and you have to rethink. That is how you can do it. What are the other ways to do it? If it is not possible, just you leave that and you go to the next one, next design process. Anyway, the first thing is to identify the problem, right? So the next thing is to validate the problem. Next thing is to justify the problem, right? And finally, you have to brief it properly. So that is very important. You can see that. So all those things are there, right? Just you make a note, it will be useful since it is the first step for the design process. Right, the next step we will see the generalized concepts that we will see in the coming session. Right, so how it will be, and it leads, it should have some research, it should have some brainstorm solutions, it should have some additional design goals, and you have to apply the science, technology, engineering principles. That is how you can do it, and you have to select a particular approach and the decision, right? So all those things will be there in the next concept, that is the generate concept. I think I given some different steps, right, for a design a process. That is 6 steps I given. The first one is to define the problem. So I given, or we discussed about the how to design, right, and how to define the problem. We discussed in this particular session, and the coming session we are going to discuss about how to generate the concepts. All right, and little by little we'll move, and we can discuss the whole design process in another 2 or 3 sessions. Thank you. No, thank you, and that's all about today's session. And if you're having any doubts, you can ask me.